Hello and welcome to my channel Making Crafts. Today I am making a fabric pocket page for the Be Happy junk journal that I'm working on, and I'm using a 6x9 envelope, and it's just junk mail that I've saved. And so you just want to start out by gluing the envelope shut, and you're just going to add glue to the flap of your envelope. And you could use any size envelope for this, just find one that fits the size of your journal. So once we have the envelope closed, you're just going to fold it in half, and then you want to cut just a little sliver off the end because we want to open up the sides of our envelope, because this is going to be the pocket part of our envelope. So this will make 4 pages in my journal, and it's also going to make 2 pockets for the journal. And my journal pages measure 6 3/4 by 4 1/2. So this was the perfect size for my journal. And so now I'm just going to use some muslin to cover this envelope. So I don't really do any measurements. So this is why I say you could use any size and follow this tutorial, since you just follow along and do the same thing for yours. And so I don't really measure. I just hold the envelope up to my fabric and find the size that fits. And what I want to do is I want to have the fabric be just a little larger all around every side. So it's about a 1/4 inch, maybe a little less than a 1/4 inch larger on each side. And I wanted that because I want the ragged edges, and I'm not going to cut the edges. I'm going to keep them frayed like that. And I want them frayed, and I want them to hang over the page in the pocket so that it adds a little bit of fluff to my journal. And this journal is going to be quite fluffy. And so now I'm just laying the first one that I cut down on top of the fabric again, and I'm going to rip another piece because you need 2 pieces, one for the front of the envelope and one for the back of the envelope. And so I'm just using regular muslin here, and so I want to stamp on one of the pages for this pocket. So I'm going to use this sunflower stamp that I found, and I thought it would be perfect for this journal. So I'm just stamped it on just some scrap cardstock that I had laying around. You can see there's lots of other stuff on the back side of this cardstock. And then I fussy cut it out because this is going to be the mask for my page. So when I do some stamping, I can cover up my flower once I have it stamped. So then I also use the flower to help me figure out where to position everything on the page. I just use the little fussy cut that I cut out, and it helps me get an idea of where I want to put the stamp on the page. Now I'm going to use some archival black ink to stamp onto the fabric, and I really like using this ink on fabric, so it's more of a permanent ink. So then I'm just going to stamp this flower onto the fabric, and I love the size of this flower. It worked out perfect for the size of my journal, and I didn't plan it. I just was digging through my things when I decided to make this journal just to see what all I could find, and this worked out perfect. So now I'm just going to take the mask that I cut out of the flower and just cover up my flower, because now I'm going to ink with the script stamp from Tim Holtz Etymology stamp set. And I use this one in all of my videos just about, so I'm sure if you're new to my channel you haven't seen me use it, but if you've been here before, more than likely you've seen me use this stamp. So the mask is going to help so that the wording does not get stamped and cause the flower to just get lost in the background. So I'm using the mask so that the wording will just go around the flower and you can still see the flower, and there won't be any words going across the image of the flower. And so this stamp wasn't quite large enough for my page, which isn't a problem. All I have to do is just stamp a little bit more of the stamp onto the bottom of the page. And this stamp really works good for that. I've never had an issue of having to do that with this stamp. It seems to all just continue to blend. So once I have it stamped, now I'm going to go ahead and apply the fabric to the envelope. And I'm going to decorate the other pages of this pocket page, but I'm going to go ahead and attach everything to the envelope first, and then I will add the decorations. So when you glue this on, what I did is I am just gluing the entire envelope. I'm going to glue along the edges, and then I'm also going to glue around the center, and I'm covering the window. The window was not part of this that I really needed. It was just what my envelope had, and the envelope was a perfect size, so I'm just covering the window as well. It will not be a part of this page. And so you just want to add glue to the entire front of the envelope. And then you're just going to center it onto your fabric, and you want to be sure to flip it over so that you can make sure that you get your fabric smoothed out some. And my fabric could have been ironed, but I really was going for the crinkly look, but I just wanted to press it down. You want to make sure that you do adhere that fabric to the glue. And so I'm just pressing to make sure that I do get all of the fabric attached, which I am going to sew the top and bottom edges, but I'm not going to be sewing, across the envelope, because then I would close my pockets up. So I do just fiddle with it a bit just to get everything adjusted. And it does just take a moment. You want to make sure you get your fabric adjusted onto your page. And that's the good thing about wet glue. You can work with it for a few minutes. And I am using Fabri-Tac again. I always use Fabri-Tac when I am gluing fabric to paper. And once again, for the back side of the envelope, you're going to do the same thing as you did for the front. You're just going to cover the entire envelope with your Fabri-Tac glue or whatever glue that you're using. And I haven't had any issues with the Fabri-Tac when I go back and sew, but I did give this time to dry pretty well before I put it under the sewing machine, because I did work on a few other things that I was getting ready for the sewing machine. So what I like to do is get all the projects ready that I'm going to sew, as many as I can anyways, and then when I go to the sewing machine, I just sew all of them at once. And so once again, you just want to be sure that you press down your fabric really good to make sure that it adheres all the way across the envelope. And just take a few minutes to work with it. And I really had fun making this pocket. I don't know what it is about fabric and stamping fabric and using fabric in a journal, but I really do enjoy combining fabric and paper. So now you can see, you want to make sure that once you glue it, that you did not glue your pockets shut. So I'm just checking here to make sure that both of my pockets are able to open up, because that's the purpose of this page, is to be a fabric page, but also to be a pocket page. So now that I have the pocket page glued up, I'm going to work on some of the decorations for the page. So this is a cutout from the kit, this little girl is, and I printed the page half size, so I printed 2 pages per 1 sheet of paper. And I showed that in my previous video, how I printed the whole set that way. I printed the whole set regular size and then half size. And so then I've just found a little piece of cotton fabric that I'm going to be using in my journal later on. You'll see it again. And I'm layering some jean material. So now I'm just going to layer these in sort of like a little cluster, a little collage of the fabric and the paper. And here I am just laying it onto the book page so that I'm certain that I can angle it right and it still close, open and close, and not bend any part of the image or the jean material. And so I do leave it on the page to glue it, but I'm not gluing it to the page yet. I'm just leaving it on the page so that I can be certain that I have it laid the correct way and all the pieces glued on the correct way. Because I'm not going to glue it to the page yet, because I am going to take it to the sewing machine as well. And so I'm just using the page to help me make sure, since I am angling the denim material one direction and then I'm angling the little girl's picture a different direction, I want to make sure that I stay within my boundaries of the page and of where the page folds, so that it doesn't get in the way and that it will fit nicely on this page. And I really love these images from the book with denim. I really think that the denim looks so good with the colors in the pages. So once I took those to the sewing machine, I come back and now I have made some envelopes as well. And I want to show you real quick how I made my envelopes for this journal. So these are tags from the kit, but they're too large when they're printed at regular size to fit the small size journal that I'm making. So I just folded the tags into envelopes. And so they're just little envelopes that's going to work perfectly on these pages. And so the 2 that I'm going to use to decorate my fabric page, I took those to the sewing machine and sewed them around 3 sides. And then here's a smaller one, and I'm not even gluing that one shut. It's going to be like a little hidden journaling spot. So the ones that are going in this, like I said, I sewed around 3 sides, and then I also sewed the top and bottom of this fabric page, but I did not sew the sides because I left it so that my pockets could still open up. So keep in mind, don't sew your sides, just sew across the top and the bottom. And you really don't have to sew it. It's just something I wanted to do. And then I just sewed around the image of the girl. And both situations, you do not have to sew the page and you do not have to sew the image. I just really wanted to add the stitching to this journal. And those envelopes could have been glued as well and not sewed, but I just really like the look of the stitching added to the journal. So now I'm just going to attach this little cluster with the girl on it, but I'm just going to glue it on 3 sides. And so I'm just going to have this as a pocket as well. Anything that I can turn into a pocket or a flip out, I love to do in my journal. So this is just going to be a little pocket. And I am adding plenty of glue because I'm gluing the denim to the muslin, and I want to be sure that this holds really well so that it doesn't come loose. And as you see, I have changed my mind, and I've actually added the cluster to the front of the booklet, the little pocket page, instead of earlier when I was trying to figure out how it was going to fit. I had it sitting inside. And so I just changed my mind. As I create these, I just go with the flow, and sometimes I change my mind where I think things should go. And so this is one of those instances where I just changed it up. So then in the previous video, I did make these specimen cards, and so I'm using the larger specimen card to fit in this pocket. But I will lay it aside until the pocket is thoroughly dry before I stick it in there, because I don't want it to get any glue and get stuck in the pocket. And I will have a link in my video below to those specimen cards. And then I also just took part of the book page and part of the journal kit page, and I just cut it down, and then I've sewed around it. And then this is just a little file folder from the kit. And this one was printed at the smaller size as well. And so what I've done is just made this up, and it's going to be a pocket. And so I'm just adding some more Fabri-Tac to this, and I am adding lots of glue to where the stitching is, and then on the outside of the stitching, since I have the book page hanging over, and it is a rather brittle book page, so I want to make sure I have plenty of glue so that it sticks down to the fabric and nothing comes loose or tears. And I think that this page worked out perfect for this pocket, and this is one of the pages printed at half size again, where I printed 2 pages per one sheet. And then I think this one was just cut in half, but I'm not sure exactly. But I just cut it down so that it would fit this page. And it fit the file folder perfectly. So you just want to be sure, if you're attaching, if you do this project, just make sure that you press everything really good. When you are adhering pockets to fabric, you want to make sure that you do press everything down good, and just hold it for a few minutes and work with it so that you make sure that it does grab hold. And you see, I folded the book up to make sure that I wasn't crossing my fold line where the page is going to fold. And then of course I go ahead and ink the little file folder. And it worked out perfect for this pocket. I love how the little edge sticks out. The little tab on it sticks out anyways. So I thought that looked really good. So for the next page, I'm going to use the envelopes that I made from tags. And so I'm going to just layer these envelopes. And I'm going to make these envelopes pockets. And so the pocket, anything that sticks in the pocket of the bottom one will help be the closure for the flap on the top envelope. I like to have my envelopes closed so they don't get wrinkled up in the journal when you're opening and closing it. So I thought that by having whatever sticks in the pocket hold the top one shut, then I can use some at the bottom to glue to hold the bottom flap shut. So once again, I'm just gluing on 3 sides, the 2 sides and then the bottom, and this is going to also be a pocket. And the little specimen cards that I made in the previous video fit perfectly in these little pockets and these little envelopes as well. And once again, I'm checking to make sure that I do not glue it on my fold line, because I don't want it to get hung up in the book when the book is sewn together and when the book is closed. And then just I'm pressing with my bone folder to make sure that the envelope does take hold really well. So I position this one so that it will help keep the top envelope closed. And I also like layering envelopes like this. I like to have them going different angles, and I just like the look of it. As you see, this one is hanging over the edge of the seam, and that's fine because that I did make the fabric a little larger, so these do just fit just fine. And so there's a little specimen card from my previous video, and I think that it works good in that pocket. And then the smaller specimen card works great in the top pocket. And then to close up the bottom envelope, I'm just using a little Tim Holtz butterfly. And so when I glue this down, it's not going to glue the envelope shut. It will just be a little place to tuck the envelope flap in so that it holds the envelope shut, and so the flap doesn't get caught up in the book when you're, like I said, when you're opening and closing it, it doesn't get wrinkled up. And it was so easy to find things to match this junk journal kit. Some kits that you get and some papers that you buy, it's hard to mix with other kits because you can't find anything to match, but this one was so easy to find bits and pieces from my Tim Holtz and from things I had around here that just really matched well with it. And I loved how that little butterfly worked for the tuck spot. And as you see, I changed my mind because this little specimen card fits perfectly in the envelope, and I thought that would be really neat for whoever receives the journal, you know, a little surprise when you open that up and there is a specimen card. Since I did take the specimen card out of the pocket, I go ahead and use some of the tags from the kit, and well, one of the tags from the kit, and I put it in the pocket. And then this is just some leftover scrap paper from Tim Holtz, and I'm just going to cut this little scrap down into a tag, which is a very simple way to make a tag. And so I just like the color of the paper with this kit, and I think that it helps the other tag kind of stand out. It kind of frames it so that it doesn't get lost on the background of the envelope above it. And once again, I'm going to ink it. I ink everything for this journal. And some of the things that I've already attached here, I inked them before I filmed putting it all together. And so there you can see that it helps the tag to pop and you're able to see it. And so now we have all the pages completed for this little fabric pocket journal, and I really love how this turned out, and hopefully you'll try to make one too. It is a lot of fun to make. This is part of my Be Happy Junk Journal series that I am doing this week, and so each day I'm going to be uploading a video of the process of making something for my Be Happy journal. At the end of the week, I will do a complete flip through of the journal. And I hope that you do enjoy this series, and let me know below what your favorite parts of this series have been. And if you do make this, please use my links on Instagram, Facebook, or even below in the comments and let me know you made it. I would love to see yours. So on Instagram and Facebook, you can share it with me. And I'll have those links below as well, and I'm going to link the other videos below. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day, and bye.